his car, he quickly headed over to help them out. His intentions went south very quickly when he was distracted by a black bear, and so he got out of his car. But the bear charged him, and as he reached for his rifle, it had snagged on the laptop stand in his cruiser. So he did what his training told him and pulled out his sidearm, which is his very last resort. Even human beings, if they're armed up enough, have been known to take multiple handgun rounds to stop. So if you got a 300-plus pound bear running at you and all you've got is your department-issued Glock 22, 99 times out of 100 you better hope your will is well up and running. Fortunately for Deputy Mary, however, fate was smiling on him that evening, and even though he only managed to squeeze off one single round, that round must have hit something vital, as the bear stopped in its tracks and dropped dead within 10 feet of Mary, which is wild.
Yeah. For example. Good job.
Yeah, exactly. Fair play to you. So Mary, he had no time to bleed, and no sooner than that terrifying incident was over, the next began. An African lioness had crawled under the fence and was heading down the road towards a neighboring house. This time, though, Mary had a chance to get his rifle and steadied himself for a proper shot. He took the lion down, checked it was dead and not suffering anymore, and then he moved on to the next tragedy, because there was a lot more lions there. And over the course of the next few hours, Mary added 3 lions, a second wolf, a tiger, and eventually, illuminated in the night by a fireman's thermal imaging scope, an adult grizzly bear to his tally. It was bloody, and bloody, literally bloody, chaos. Sergeant Blake had been tasked with finding out, though, where was Terry, and what had happened to him. Why were all his animals loose? Now, at this point, no one knew what had happened to cause the animals to get out, but they would soon have an answer. Blake met the Thompson Farm's occasional caretaker, a fellow named John Moore, on the Thompsons' driveway. Neighbors had called John, the caretaker, when they'd seen the loose animals, and he'd gone over to find out what was going on. John knew Terry well. He also knew Terry was struggling with the animals since his wife had left him. At first, there had been no response to the calls to Terry's house. Moore and Blake, they just found a heap of unlocked and opened cages inside, and there was the animals being loose, there was no way it was accidental or some kind of bizarre mistake. All the animals had been left free on purpose. Only a couple of monkeys and a dog were left in their cages. All else was let loose, and it's like, you let the grizzly bears, the lions, and the tigers loose. What must have been wrong with the monkeys and the dogs? He was too scared to release them, obviously. They're in a real dangerous. That dogs are free. Yeah, exactly. There you go. They're too dangerous to be let out. Initially, they thought Terry wasn't there at all. The 2 men left to return to the safety of their cars. But on the short walk up the road to the house, John Moore spotted something that very much looked like a body lying near the Thompson barn. Just a foot away from the body was a huge white tiger, and it appeared to be going back and forth between biting the body and looking for something else to play with. They would take Blake and 4 other deputies, loaded into a flatbed truck, armed to the teeth with every single gun they could gather. That's the MP5s, bolt-action rifles, AR-15s. They were locked and loaded. Blake drove the truck with the other. Essentially, they were going around like again, like the flight of Valkyries. They were going around, their weapons pointed at the windows, and as they approached, they were surprised by 2 Alice tigers lunging at them. They killed them. Then they carried on to retrieve what they now knew was Terry's body. They found him. He was a code 16, which means dead on arrival, and it appears to have been a clear suicide. Terry's gun, a .357 Ruger Magnum, was with the body. They couldn't be sure, though, as they had bitten and dragged the body around. The team was told until even for now, there were still dozens and dozens of animals that hadn't stopped. At one point, things were so out of hand that they had to call for more ammunition to be sent out because they were running low.
You're a blacksmith. How do you get to the blacksmith? Oh, come on.
Yeah, one of the officers, the quote from the officers, he said, "We're really able to tell, but you were able to tell that he made one spot go below and then was dry."
Good day, sir.
What's new around here, blacksmith?
That soldier who recently offered us work comes to mind. He was looking for a blacksmith and saying some pretty suspicious things. I don't want to get involved with any soldiers from Sigismund's camp, but if you really need money, try going to see him. Alas, that's all I know.
All right, thank you. I'll look into it.
right, which is bizarre. And he let all the animals loose. Chicken, raw chicken all around, and then lose hell. Yeah. Crazy wild. Yeah, literally wild. Yeah. As the sheriff and his men euthanized so many of the animals, a whole new issue emerged. Their carcasses were spread across a rather large area. The decision was made to collect the remains and bring them all to one location, for obvious reasons. Taking them back to the Thompson farm seemed to make the most sense, so the deputies who weren't actively tracking animals were redirected to collect as many of the remains as possible and return them to the same location. So unsurprisingly, in the wake of the culling, the police switchboards were lit up with calls from all over, and eventually the country. Residents and activists were lining up to wish eternal damnation on the sheriff's office and authorities for their seemingly unnecessarily violent response. Sheriff's deputies shot 48 animals. That's 18 Bengal tigers, 17 lions, 3 cougars, 6 black bears, and 2 grizzly bears. The only animal to be unaccounted for was a macaque, but it was ultimately decided that the animal was most likely eaten by one of the others. Pretty by it's such a shame because, yeah, those cougars were there looking for single men. In the end, they just ate macaques. Oh, yeah, that's good. That got me. Columbus Zoo, which was only 40 miles away, dispatched a team armed with tranquilizers and specialized equipment to try and take the animals alive. Sadly, though, they didn't arrive at the scene until it was already night, and it just wouldn't have been safe for them to go after the animals without risking serious injury or death. Even then, even when they were able to, there was no guarantee that the tranquilizers would have worked, as a local vet found out to her horror. See, the close call came when a local vet rushed to the aid of officers who had managed to track one of the tigers. The tiger was resting at the time, so it was the perfect opportunity to dart the animal and minimize the loss of life. She took 2 darts and a tranquilizer gun. The problem was, though, that usually when anesthetics are used, it's under, extreme supervision. You have to be careful with the weight and the volume of populations, to make sure that the anesthetics will work, but it's too well, and then you put it into a coma. So with the urgency of the situation, there wasn't simply time to
Let's talk about the price.
Well, so she had to go with the best guess she could based on eyeballing the approximate.
Is this enough?
More.
As I said, too little would be effective. Too much, it could kill the animal. In the end, it was a form.
Very well then.
Even though
excellent, I made a fine purchase, good sir.
All thought it was a perfect shot. As soon as the first team member stood up protecting the tiger, they realized, oh no, it hadn't been enough. And instead of the tiger being asleep, it had really pissed off the tiger, and it charged at them. So, as you can imagine, at the time, they're taking risks. And at the time.
People know only about it for my decades. For years, I was overwhelmed with credit card bills, giving me payments, feeling like I was barely keeping with. Then I discovered national debt relief, and everything changed. We worked with my creditors to consolidate everything into one family education. Every component of all was knowledge of my fraction of me. We realized how often, as I was stuck in a cycle that felt never ending. Here's the kicker: there are never locked into your current situation. Even if you've been making payments for a while, you can still keep on your debt payment. Helping the people like me stay on their feet and get out of debt faster than I ever thought possible. Because people can need it. If you have an email and see how much they can save you on your debt. You want to know please? Know that I'm a fast with green line? It's not that's it's up. Yes. This is what we call it. See, some shops charge what they want. We call it high bid. The car shield is not protecting against all of it. The car shield is lasting and important. It helps cover your expensive service so you aren't left overpaid for something like what you did. All I'm saying is, call car shield to help avoid all the stress and happiness so you and your car can feel better. That's right. I'm about to car shield.
fire a second dart as I wouldn't miss that again. The fallout of the events in Zanesville reached out far beyond the small town, and they landed with a
I'll have a look at the wares.
in the state's political arena. What had begun as a swift and harsh backlash against sheriffs, deputies, and authorities, and slowly morphed into stronger and stronger support. Once the dust began to settle and the true extent of the danger posed by the animals, when that was released, or revealed to the public.
Hope you find what you're looking for next time, good sir.
And the director emeritus of Columbus Zoo, came on the ground the morning after. He was vocal in support of the sheriff's office and the quick decision to cull the animals. And of course, director of the zoo, honestly,
What brought you to fighting?
Well, I don't rightly know. It seems better than drinking or whoring around to me.
Killing them, well, that will change the public's opinion as he knows what he's talking about. And this wasn't like a good time. Hey, hell yeah, let's the officers were all like traumatized by how they shoot all the animals. It was really sad. Like, actually, when the
Why do I get the feeling your heart's not really into these fights?
It's true.
Yeah.
Marcus says we're doing this so we defend ourselves, in case someone came around causing problems. But it seems to me he's doing it more for fun and money from the bets.
It's a visual form, guys, like I can't. The photos are just cheaper. There was one, like, sadly, one of the officers.
So girls and drinking aren't your thing?
Not really. I'm happier at the forge.
Yeah, they loved animals. Yeah, like, they weren't having a good time. They're like on the drugs with
So
yeah, they didn't want to. Yeah, exactly. A lot of the officers ended up taking counseling after it because they were just like traumatized by all these. I mean, nobody wanted to hurt an animal. And ultimately, on June 5th, 2012, Ohio Governor Kasich would sign the Dangerous Wild Animal Act into law. While it fell short of outright banning ownership of exotic and dangerous animals, the law does require stringent restrictions and requirements for private individuals to possess and transport animals, and it includes background checks and requires owners to obtain and maintain special insurance and permits. But hey, listen, if we know one thing, it's that if you introduce a law, everybody will obey it. That's true, that's true. There's okay, so this part, I think you might enjoy. It's a conspiracy part. Hells yeah, okay, I'm ready. I love conspiracy. Okay, so like a lot of tragic events that appear to happen without any true explanation at all, always follows a couple of conspiracies. Okay. So there's a couple of parts of this story, the part of the story which just didn't make sense, which people are questioning. So one is, so the locks, they were opened with bolt cutters. Why didn't I use his keys? Yeah, Terry Thompson would have been easier just to use your key lock than to cut it open with a bolt cutter. Yeah. So that's weird. There was also, so how did get all the cages open without being packed? Yeah, I was actually thinking about that earlier. Like, you think, so the animals would have immediately, like, some of them would have just immediately ran out. I mean, how can you open them? Like, there's like 20, exactly, the lion's just going to walk out of cage 4 past you while you're opening its friends. They're going to hang up on you. Yeah, right there. Then there were some people who think, he got caught up on like a black market sale, and it's not the wrong person, or he got caught up with the Mexican cartel. They're known for the tigers, the old Mexican cartel. Oh, it's not the Mexican cartel, it's the Mexican cartel. But the strongest theory is that it was the work of an animal rights activist. They came down and they made a look at it. I mean, once I repeated this dumb shit, it was stupid. So that's not like surprising. I do think though that that's weird that the whole thing him using bolt cutters, that's crazy. And then and then the second part of him using bolt cutters, which I mean that doesn't take a long time, that takes a bit of time. So he must have been able to open up all the cages with like 56 animals. Yeah, which would have taken a long ass time to do. So how, as you said, how did they not attack him? Why did he use these? And then he opened all these cages and then walked over, covered himself in raw chicken. He chicken popped the whole time. So a big bag of chicken and nutting out like a tiger. You would snip it and then like try and bite it open. I mean, these are wild animals. Yeah. And then he had all the time to do that, spread the chicken around him, and then took one to the noggin. The animals seemingly only eating sardine after he missed it.
Yeah, so there'd be a couple of strange things.
That does not make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, that is great. That's where some people are bringing the cartel, some sort of white. But yeah, like all good conspiracy theories, there is, of course, evidence.
Oh, well, even if it was somebody else, say it was an animal's right through border cartel or another animal dealer, well, how did they open the ball when it being attacked?
You know what I mean? It's true. Yeah, yeah.
This makes sense for anybody to not get attacked. Like, you must have had, like, one man at every cage, and then they all did it at the same time, and then they ran. So that before the animals could actually walk out of the cage, they were, like, out of there.
So, of course, that's 56 people.
That's wild. Literally wild, but interesting.
Yeah, so that's a head scratcher. A couple of interesting conspiracies.
That's good. Very good. Well, there you have it, folks. That is the Zanesville Massacre.
There you have it.
Zanesville, Ohio. It's a very tragic story, but wild. Very interesting. I found it to be a fascinating story.
It was one I wanted to cover but didn't want to cover, if that makes sense. We've had this script for about 4 or 5 weeks now.
Yeah.
And every time we show up to do, like for the last 4 weeks, I show up, like, we do Zanesville, and he's like, not feeling it. It's like, okay.
It's a really interesting story. It's a crazy story.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just the, you know, I think you and I are both animal lovers.
Yeah, like it is, we've said before, like, I won't down with children, because it's like, it's...
Holy shit, snakes. That's a camp. If I ever seen one.
And it's the same with animals.
Right.
Animals are just like, they're innocent in all of this.
Yeah.
It's not there. We made one. So,
absolutely.
It's always hard to do. But I think this story.
It's a really good story. It's a really crazy story. Harry Thompson, what a man, what a legend. Went out the way he lived, being eaten by animals. Well, there you have it, folks. Thanks so much for listening to me.
I think it's just it's not a...
Got something out of this one. Well, I don't know what it is, but I hope it's something.
Back to the camp.
And we'll be back at you next week, or, well, maybe you're listening to this on the Sunday. I don't know when you're listening to this. So, you know that jail drill is a new episode of that sort of podcast.
There should be like a mission thing. Here it is. Probably right here. Oh, this thing's gated in. You gotta get in from the top. And of course, the blacksmith's all the way in the back. Ugh. This is how you get in over here, right? Where's the entrance?
Get closer to October and the autumn.
Gotta have an entrance. Over here?
I'm very excited.
Things are going to get very spooky. We're going to bring in witches,
wow.
vampires.
Sigismund's got some money.
I have literally been non-stop lighting Halloween.
It kind of looks like a little bit. Just saying.
Hey, look, I got a pumpkin.
It looks like a little bit.
I know. I'm ready for Halloween, dude. I've been watching spooky movies. I watched The Witch the other day. I've been watching other spooky movies. I'm playing spooky games on video games. I'm like ready for Halloween. So I just can't wait for it. So, alright, so let's look forward to that. But hey, listen, folks, thanks so much for listening once again, and we'll talk to you soon. There you go. It's alright. Thanks, guys. Bye.
I didn't always call you Dad. I called you Hero. I called you Coach. And I definitely called you embarrassing. There were years I called you less. But whenever I called you, hey Dad, you always answered. Happy Father's Day.
Is this Lizzie Borden? Yeah, well, whatever.
Alrighty then, now we are recording.
Couple points of interest here.
The thing is on. I pressed
So the best way would be to go up to
green things are going
Apatowitz.
Alrighty, folks. Today it's an episode of the Zach Trevor podcast. It's me,
And
Dirty
then
Mike,
down and around the nutsack up into the sea.
Dirty Heat,
Yes. Papa smear, whatever you want to call. All the above. Yep.
Alright, let's free Janosh. And then fight this dude.
We can play Missing. Do you think, or do you think we get trouble for it?
She likes his wife. Yeah, the old lady that's like crying was all over the horny bitch. Yeah. Look away from her. I need the Jaguar fucking with the macaw.
Very tricky because it's doesn't do
Beat it.
My daughter's friend has this thing where after the weekend they do before the weekend. And on the weekend, the loads of food out, we brought her to the park, the playground, the soft day, McDonald's, the zoo. We did play dates, did loads of stuff. I went in, collected, and looked on the bed.
Hey,
Easy. The bailiff is letting you go.
God.
Go to the devil's den.
How you did that? Hey.
I healed that poor wretch that you battered.
I hear that. Hey.
So the bailiff is letting you go.
All right. Thank you, fella.
You can thank
We
the
got
devil
these
and
Mexicans.
Zizka. They sent me for you.
Devil? How he get free, hey? Last I know, he rotting in chains.
Me, Kubyanka, and Zizka freed him.
Zizka, that mad bastard here? Now that is something to look forward to. And what about Eder? You find him too?
Not yet. Any idea where he might be?
That Polish fucker? He come see me, but then I get caught and he fuck off. He's somewhere near for sure. In nearest village, no doubt. Chasing wenches while friends next is in news.
I'll try asking around then.
We meet in Devil's Den. Till then, good luck.
Hold on. I had to buy your freedom.
You wanted back? You fucked in the head. Hey, where I get coin? In fucking stocks? But, you know, I got something for you much better. What do you say to my sausage?
Whoa, hey.
What are you blabbering about? What sausage?
Proper one. Full of goodness. Maybe not smell so good, but taste good when you hold nose.
Flies is blazing here, and get it all delivered fast and free right to your bar. For low prices and fast shipping, here's Susie.
We went to pub for 2 pints on the Friday. Wanted to do the chorus and had a bit of food. And then we got on with the music. It's like, no, the pub. And went in on all this. He's like, oh, it's the pub. And he's like, oh, we do other days. You're on college. Yeah, I know. You're like, you know, when you do pub, you're the pub. You know your life, though. I do love the pub. Yeah, but my little secret. Alrighty, well, I think without further ado, we got a hell of a story today. We do. It's Big Massey is home for this whole episode, a story of prayer. Which, I mean, it's set in Massachusetts, it's still in Massachusetts. I'd say New England as a whole, as a region, I was associated with horror, horror, obviously, like, Salem and shit like that. There was a I've actually lived in Australia more than you. But, you know, ghosts and a lot of things, horror writers are from there. Just like wind and the fishing villages and waves and lighthouses and old gothic manors, that kind of thing. This is definitely a story that kind of has a little bit of everything in that. So today, folks, it's a story of Lizzie Borden. May or may not, but definitely did. Alright. Let's begin with the beginning. Lizzie Andrew Borden was born on July 19, 1860, 9 years after her sister, Emma. Her
father, Andrew Jackson Borden, had English and Welsh roots, and was a proper self-made man. So while he didn't grow up in the dirt exactly, his family were far from well-to-do, and he struggled during his early life. Andrew worked hard though and invested wisely. He had a finger in many pies, and it was in the manufacture of furniture, particularly a sideline in crafted building, that made him his first significant sum and pulled him clear of the daily grind. With the cash he made from his furniture business, Andrew was able to buy properties and became a landlord quickly. He realized that's where the real dollar bills are, when you get the real money, which is so unlike today. I know, yeah, exactly, wow. So not only did he expand his property portfolio into commercial properties, but he also invested significant amounts into several textile mills, which back in these days, in the late 1800s, was basically a cash-printing business if you had the right connections. The cherry on the icing was his position as president of the Union Savings Bank and director of the Durfree Safe Deposit and Trust Company.
Please tell me you're talking about food.
Yeah, I talk about sausage. What else? Janos's sausage. Ah, I see. You think I means big, huge salami in my hose, eh? He's not for just anybody. Me? I am decent Christian.
So basically, he was a pretty serious business mogul in Massachusetts, and serious political sway and social influence. Basically, it was important nepo baby, absolutely. And in fact, he did have mind, keen eye for business. But another big reason that he managed to build his fortune was that he was seriously stingy with money. Like, even oranges are fucking like this. Wow. So, when he was running his side hustle over the building profits, there was rumors that he put the feet off the books, took the crown beneath to the undersized captain. He got underneath. Well, that's I respect that. No. Also, when he became a landlord, so it was not uncommon to see him on the grounds with a basket of eggs. So they came from one of his farms, and he offered it for sale on the grounds. He had a rent book in one hand, taking money, and then also take the place back. That's good. So he's a businessman. He's a hustler. He's a hustler quite like you and I. We're a podcast hustlers, okay, as you know. As you were my junior associate, I'm the primary associate of that type of podcast. Andrew Borden bought the house that would become a family home in 1872. The house, the famous house, was at 92 2nd Street, Fall River in Bristol County, Massachusetts. That's about an hour, maybe 2 hours south, directly south of Boston, getting close to the Rhode Island border. And specifically, it is close to the Bridgewater Triangle, which is an area in southern Massachusetts, home to a very, very big forest, the Fall River Forest, and they live in Fall River. And that's home. Okay, I actually want to do an episode on Bridgewater Triangle someday. I'm already on. Yeah, oh, it's good. So it's basically this area that's supposedly haunted. There's been like devil worshippers, murders, UFOs. Apparently, it's like one of the scariest places in America. It's just about freaky, weird shit that happens in this triangle. I mean, I actually wanted to go there again, but I was supposed to be staying there for a time, but I had to go home. But yeah, a very freaky place. That deserves full episode. Yeah, just entered my brain. Hey, but that's all right. So there you go, folks. That was close to where the Borden was living. And the house, though, they had in Fall River, it would become the scene of one of the most outrageous talked about murders of the 19th century. Now, the house itself, it wasn't exactly a luxury mansion you'd expect from a multi-millionaire and his family to live in. But Andrew Borden liked being close to his main business on nearby Main Street, despite his considerable wealth. Andrew never forgot, though, that there was a time when he had nothing, and he remained reluctant to spend for the rest of his life. So instead, he fell to his family to enjoy the fruits of his labor. As Pete said, Andrew Borden was well known because of his position, but he never shook his reputation for being tight with his cash. There were even rumors around town that the Borden family home lacked indoor plumbing and electric lighting, both of which were considered standard, more like a wealthy household like the Bordens back in this day. Yeah, it's true. They no hot water in the Bordens at all. So not unless you boil
I'll take it.
You will not be sorry. Come back when it is nice and firm. It melts in your...
Firm?
Their stove, it was just basically
Well,
just like every
all right.
I go now. I cannot wait.
place. It did
actually have running water upstairs.
We'll meet at the
Well,
Devil's
he
Den.
decided that
Hi-ho.
wasn't necessarily lovely.
We got...
And that the colour changed.
This may be
Well,
cured
yeah,
Devil's
yeah,
hangover.
I'm happy to have the last all three of them. So there was no bathrooms, no upstairs bath, just cold, brutal living, all white and stuff. Wow. I mean,
Gordon might have had just as big an impact on Lizzie, if not even more so than her father. Another 3 years on from the death of Lizzie's mother Sarah, Andrew met and married 37-year-old Abby Durfree Gray in 1865. So Sarah's absence, her mom was felt strongly by the family, especially Lizzie's older sister Emma Borden, who flat out refused to call her new stepmom Abby mom, or basically any other similar form of affection, and instead insisted on calling Abby by her married name, Mrs. Borden. At least initially, Lizzie got on pretty well with her stepmother and
This
Emma, was having to address her as
how do you even get
mother, but that would all change after disputes over several gifts of property. Andrew gave to his new wife Abby, well, gave them a lot of stuff, gave them a lot of gifts and property.
daughter?
Lizzie or Emma were too pleased about their inheritance taking like taking. Emma had a long dislike for stepmom Abby, thinking that Abby had remarried Andrew for his moolah. After Andrew had signed over a couple of properties to relatives of Abby, Lizzie was like, well, geez, that's supposed to be mine. She joined her sister on the fuck Abby train. To be honest, I'm not even sure if Andrew like that. Like, by all accounts, he was, through their reports, he was a
does know?
desirable.
What the?
There you go,
Why
folks.
is everything always so hard for me to find in this game? I swear.
This was like the 1870s. Yeah, that's actually pretty hardcore. Because, I mean, you can see pictures of, like, the bell on the ball, and it's like, look, it's her? Oh, my girlfriend. Well, I think for Andrew to marriage, it was convenient. It was convenient means of securing a housekeeper and a nursemaid for his children.
ah, the good old, well, marry a woman so she can be my slave. Pretty much it.
Classic. So in order to try and smooth things over with his daughters, Andrew agreed to sell them their mother's old house for a nominal $1 fee, which they could then rent out and earn their own income as landlords, on top of what allowance they were already getting from their father. The thing is, though, the girls didn't realize how much work was involved and quickly regretted the deal. Andrew, again trying to keep them happy, knowing they hated his new wife, he agreed to buy back the house for $5,000, which would be over $170,000 these days. And that's remarkably generous. He sold it to them for $1 and bought it back. Like, basically just gave them $5,000, like $170,000. Yeah, absolutely. That's like, they wasn't very good at this property, the Borden girls were brought up to be relatively religious and attended Central Congressional Church. Lizzie was heavily involved in the church and even taught some history classes. Later, she became involved with the Women's Christian Temperance Union. Basically, she sounded like a lot of fun. The other key occupant of the Borden household in Fall River wasn't Borden at all, but the family's living name, Bridget Sullivan. 25-year-old Bridget was a relatively recent arrival to the United States from Ireland. Origins usually refer to her as Maggie. Her testimony, Bridget Sullivan's testimony, would end up being pivotal at Lizzie's trial. Basically, Bridget Sullivan had to okay, so you know why they call her Maggie? Why? So Maggie was the name of the last and they just weren't interested in Bridget, no, you're Maggie. You're Maggie too.
I like that. I guess it's like the Irish term is that right? Yeah, you have like a lot of places protein, a couple other stuff. Yeah, I don't say that. Good noting things out of the Irish anymore.
Yeah, there was an incident in May of...
It just walks around in circles.
Killed several pigeons belonging to it.
He's in this
He also
building
came
now.
to the roost Lizzie had built for them. Now, just how much of an argument this actually caused is up for debate, with some claiming that it caused great upset, and others allege that it barely affected Lizzie, and that she had seen the birds as livestock, rather than pets. Now, it's possible that the argument caused by the...
What are you doing here?
...is what caused Lizzie and Emma to go on a trip to New Bedford in July of 1895. The girls arrived back to Fall River a week before the murders. But Lizzie didn't return immediately home, instead choosing to stay at a local boarding house. So in the several days leading up to the killings, the boarders had all come down with a severe bout of sickness. When this came to light in the days after the murders, rumors of an attempted poisoning spread quickly, caught the attention of investigators. Abby herself had apparently suspected someone might be making an attempt on her husband's life with some of his business practices.
Ave
The real
Maria.
reason was overcooked one that had been kept for too long.
I heard about the local fight club. You're one of the members, aren't you?
If you have to ask. But if you don't plan on taking part, don't even ask. We don't need any gawkers.
More reward, more safety, more special
The innkeeper sent me. He said I could fight too. I'm Henry.
Aha! Well, that's another story. I'm Vincent. I'll fight with you first.
At Newport University, you discover the power of curiosity. The creativity. The knowledge of God's progress.
You basically think the future. You do not just find your path, you find it all. Christopher Newport University, find it all.
I actually spent the process of the local doctor, Dr. Howe, and told him that he suspected that there was poison. He asked him what he was eating. And yeah, like, said for liquid meals that we consumed some warm over fish and mush. Food that had been rehydrated and recycled into dishes for 3 days straight. And this was in the middle of a blazing hot summer. Yeah. The day of the murder, it was over 100 degrees. Yeah, it's like, that's not bad to use like food for 3 days, but there's 0 refrigerators. There's no 3 days. So yeah, that's gonna go bad. But it is, Dr. Bowman reassured him that no one was trying to poison it. They were just poisoning themselves. Yeah, but I don't think that they believed it. There was a huge amount of it. He got into some way there to get it. It was on the night of August 3rd, the day before the murders. The Bordens had a surprise guest. John Vinicum Morse, who was Sarah Borden's brother, Lizzie and Deborah's uncle. He was set to stay with the family for a few days while he and Andrew discussed some business things together. Yeah, he kind of comes in and then leaves and he's like, what was he doing? Yeah, why is he doing it? Yeah, like we'll get into a bit more later, but just give you a little taste of his odd behavior. So when he showed up at the boarding house, unannounced, he didn't bring a single piece of clothing. He got not a comb, any shirt, toothbrush, nothing. Just 5. Weird 5. Yeah, and like this is his plan was staying for a couple of days for his business. Yeah. You'll provide everything. Right, of course you will. So what happened on the day in question, August 4th, 1895? Now usually the more time that passes, the more obscure details get. People die, move on, evidence is lost, news change. But thanks to the sheer amount of research